Hi, I'm Sharan London. I'm the Executive Director of the Montgomery County Coalition for the Homeless. We're in Rockville, Maryland. My congregation was interested in doing work at a shelter. They were going to provide meals, and it was our year of acts of loving kindness, and people turned down tabs of volunteer work that they wanted to do. So somehow I must have turned down a tab for homelessness, and somebody called me about a month later and said, she was involved in providing meals for 25 men at a shelter for every night for 4 months. And would I help her? I said, sure. So I went over to her house, and she gave me the printout of all the people like me who had turned down that tab and a big calendar, and said, start calling people and we'll see what we can do, if we can arrange for these meals. And I started, and then I tried to reach her, and I could never reach her again. She fell off the face of the earth, and here I was with this camera and 25 men to feed for every night for 4 months. And the amazing thing was, we did it. I was hooked. When I first started, I had never done it. I was really taken in by the people. It was a men's shelter, and I was moved by their stories, the choices that they've had to make, the way they've had to live their life, the way people treat them. I was just really hooked right away. And then the program I started was for chronically mentally ill single adults. So it was men and women. And when you look at a cohort of mentally ill women who in the past had gone into an emergency shelter every winter and then gone back out on the streets when the weather was nice, because that's what we did, and know that you can give them some place to live, and they can stay there 24 hours a day, and they can be safe, and they can get, they can meet somebody and have a relationship and start to trust somebody, and then maybe talk to a psychiatrist, and maybe take medication, and maybe get better. It's an amazing thing to see. There are personal changes, and just in terms of confidence. When I first started and had to go speak in front of the county council, oh my gosh, my voice was shaking, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do the public speaking. You learn to do those things. I really am an introvert in an extrovert's job, but I can do that. I can do it, and I do it for the people who we're trying to get housing for. It's easy to sort of step back and say, oh my gosh, look at this huge organization that we built, look at these buildings that we built, look at the permanent housing we provided, but we still have homeless people. And so while that part is exciting, and I am proud of what we've done, and it's not me, it's all the people who are involved in it, this is a problem that doesn't have to exist. It didn't exist, 30 years ago. And so I am really frustrated by federal policies that haven't changed, and the lack of political will. Homelessness as it exists today didn't exist 30 years ago. It really has happened in the early 80s when we started seeing federal policy change and the reduction in affordable housing. I grew up here in Washington. I can remember, literally, the one homeless guy who panhandled on the streets of D.C. when I was a young child. There were, tons. You're looking at me because you've only grown up with homelessness. It didn't exist, but there were always people who were poor. There were always people on the fringe. There were hobos who lived, jumped the rail cars. I don't mean to say that there was nothing, but not to the scope that it is today. And what happens today is that people, your generation say, oh, it's always been here. And so it's just sort of a part of the fabric of our country, but it doesn't have to be. It really is an affordable housing issue. I don't think we should have an expectation that everybody who's experiencing homelessness is going to end up living in the house in the suburbs with, 2 kids and a spouse. But maybe for that person, success is being able to being able to live indoors. There are people who are afraid to do that. Or maybe it's taking medication, or maybe it's getting a job, or, lots of things. So I think when I look at it on an individual basis for the people who we're serving, it means lots of different things. For the organization or the community, I would love to see a reduction in homelessness, and we've tried. We've had a lot of success in getting money put into our system, not my programs necessarily, but the system. But change is tough. People are really sort of wedded to the way that they do business, and I say all the time, I'd love to be out of business. That would make me so happy, but I'm not sure all providers feel that way. So we do a lot of work in schools because I'm a big believer in getting those kids, and letting them know, and they can influence their parents. And we educate thousands of school kids a year. And I think that's really, really important. The Fannie Mae Foundation sponsors something called the Help the Homeless Walk. And it is a big fundraiser for a lot of organizations within the Washington metropolitan area. And a big piece of it is youth engagement. And so actually, we claim that we are the ones who invented their youth engagement program, because the walk used to be downtown, and we had a cluster of schools who said, we want to walk for you, but we don't want to take our kids downtown. Can we walk at our school? And then all of a sudden, and they let us do it, and they gave the school an award, and then next year they had mini walks around all the schools. But it's great because it really gives you the opportunity to go in and talk to these kids about homelessness. And it's fun to go back year after year, and you see the kids in elementary school, and then maybe see them again in middle school, and what they know. It's wonderful. I think people have to figure out what it is that they want. I mean, some people want to give time, some people want to give money, some people want to give food, and I think for folks it's a combination. Certainly a better use of your money might be to give to an agency that supports the homeless. That's great. We always all need that. I think food is a great way. I'm a Jewish girl. Food is the thing. That's what you do. You give people food, and that starts the conversation. And I think it's an opportunity for folks. And certainly, it's the most volunteers we use in our agency are around food, providing meals. And I think, I recently was talking to a group and said, what I need from you all is to be advocates. I need, when these people in Bethesda are giving me a hard time, I need you to write a letter to the Washington Post and say, I am so excited that we can embrace this in our community. I keep working at it and keep, trying to move our community forward. We have a local plan to end homelessness. We, as an organization, are really, really committed to keep going because, every day when I drive into my office, I drive past our men's emergency shelter and see the 100 men who are living, staying there every night. And I know a lot of them. And my office for many years was in the safe havens for men. And so I saw the changes that we made. And we have a program that's for people who are chronically homeless. And we have 22 people in it who have a total of over 185 years of homelessness between them. And they're in housing, and they're doing great. And they're in permanent housing, and they're stable. And, they may not, look like your next door neighbor and my next door neighbor, but they're doing great. And they've built community. And I see what that does in our programs. And, it's enough to keep it going. I think it's really important in our country that we acknowledge that folks are living in poverty, that we acknowledge that folks don't have a home, and know that that's not okay. It's not okay in a country like this. We should be embarrassed. And I think the more we can do to bring attention to it, and the more people we can get involved in the issue, the better chance we have of ending it.